So good day again. We are now on lesson 2 of the first part of this bridging course. So for our lesson 2, we'll be discussing about algebraic expression. So at least dire, pumasok na tayo sa yung hinihintay nyong algebra. Okay, let's first define what is an algebraic expression. Okay, it's a recording. The definition of an algebraic expression is that it is a collection of letters, which are called variables, and real numbers, which are constants, combined using the operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation. Okay, let us try to dissect these terms. First, we have algebraic expression. So let's take a look at expression. So there is algebra. That is also similar to any languages, diba? We express something through an expression, or in sa language, we express something through words. So in mathematics, algebra is the expression of a certain situation or a certain condition in mathematics. Okay? So we understand it or we express it through algebraic expression in order for us to understand. I hope you understood me. So what are examples of algebraic expressions? Suppose you want to express, let's say, weight, and let's say we'll express weight in terms of x. So let x be weight or yung kabigat. Ayan, x. So when you say that a person is double of this weight, so we express it as 2x, meaning doble ng weight x. So by this, we already expressed something. 'Di ba? Parang may story na siya that the expression 2x is double of something, and that something, as I have said kanina, is weight. For example, we have x squared plus 4x plus 5. So that means that ang story nitong expression na to is that x was squared, then added, or x was squared and added with it 4 times of itself and added with 5. Parang ganun din. So halimbawa x over 2, ano ibig sabihin nun? This is half of a certain value. This expression is half of a certain value. So I think you get what I mean, that these are expressions, or this conveys certain meanings, certain messages. Okay? So let's pwede din 4 over 7x squared plus 1. So that's still an expression. We don't know, maybe this is a model of something, or this is an expression of a certain situation. So that's why we have that expression. Okay, so let's proceed. Now, here are the terms that we usually encounter in algebra, especially in this particular topic, algebraic expression. First, unahin na lang muna natin to, variables and constants. So when we say variables, from the word na lang na root word, vary. So that value is not fixed, it varies, nag-iiba, nag-change. So a changing value is a variable. For example, this is a variable because we are not sure what is the exact value of this. There is no exact value for x. X could be 1 or any real number. Okay, and a constant, that is a real number. So like this, 2 is a constant, 4 is a constant, 5 is a constant, this is a constant, this is a constant. It's a constant because from the word itself, constant, it doesn't change, it's fixed. Okay, so we have, in an algebraic expression, we have variables and constants. Now, we also have the this word term. So a term is something, in an algebraic expression, a term is that a term is separated by addition or subtraction. So for example, this is only a single term. Okay, isa lang siya na term. So this is composed of 3 terms. For example, parang words ba? We have one term or one word combined with another word, then we have a phrase. So it's the phrase itself is an expression. So pareho din dito. This is already kung sa i-relate natin sa word ba or sa language ba, this is already a phrase. diba? It's composed of words. So sa algebra, this algebraic expression is composed of terms. Dito, isa lang siya na term. For example, ouch. Isang term lang siya. But this, medyo tatlo na. So let's say, oh my gosh. Parang ganun. That is rough analogy. Anyway, so that is term. Pag sinabing term, that is separated by the operation addition or subtraction. So the inverse of addition is subtraction man. So this could be plus or minus. So pag separated siya with that yung sineparate na yon are terms. So this is just a single term. This is composed of three terms. 1, 2, 3. This is just a single term because the operation here is division. Okay, this is not two terms. Kay division man siya. So this is just a single term. Half of x is a single term. This is actually just a single term because the major operation here, because this is the whole expression, di ba? And the major operation here is division. Okay? Pero if you just zoom in or you just look at the denominator, the denominator composed of two terms. One term, second term. Because this is separated by plus. But since ito yung whole expression natin, the whole expression is just one single term. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng term. Okay? So, let us proceed. Tingnan natin tong example. Say, 2x squared plus 4x minus 8. So, this is a whole algebraic expression. This is the expression. So, how many terms are there? There are three terms. Yun yung mga separated, those are the parts separated by addition and subtraction. So, we have 2x squared, 4x, and 8. Or this could also be, this is actually equal to 2x squared plus 4x plus negative 8. Pwede din ganun. Okay? Now, sasa na tayo. Meron tayong tinatawag na, wait let me change the color of my ink. Meron tayong tawag na variable term. And meron tayong tinatawag na constant. Huwag na lang natin i-plural. Variable term na lang. And we have also a constant term. So what does this mean? When we say variable term, that is a term that composed of a variable because the whole expression itself becomes variable. Di na siya sakto, di ba? Because if it contains a variable, we know that a variable is a quantity that varies. Even if you multiply that with a constant term, with a fixed term, the whole quantity still varies, di ba? Parang ganito. We don't know the value, or x ay hindi sigurado. 2 is sigurado ang value. Pero if you multiply 2 and x, di ka na sigurado sa value. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin. So, therefore, a variable term is a term that has a variable. Or sabihin na natin, contains a variable. Okay? And a constant term, those are fixed terms. So, yun na lang sabihin natin dito. Fixed terms. Okay. So, ano yung ibig sabihin nito? Or from the example. So, the constant term, or no, variable term dito for our example, this one. So, what are the variable terms? Sobrang dali. The variable terms are 2x squared and 4x because these two terms contains a variable. So, the constant term is, kung kani atong basihan, the constant term is 8 or negative 8. Kung atong basihan lang ang plus na separation. Ito lang, separated by plus. So, the constant term is just 8. So, ganun lang siya kadali. Ayun, let's try a problem. Let's try this. Okay, identifying terms and coefficients. This is already our problem 8. Naka 7 tayo the last time. Sorry. Problem 08. Identifying terms and coefficients. Okay, so we have this algebraic expression. We identify terms and we identify the coefficients. Madali lang naman to. So, walang challenge. For the first, for letter A, what are the terms here? So that is 5x and negative 1 over 7. Okay? Let us fix na lang na ang operation is always plus. Para kung minus siya, positive, we'll use the negative value of the constant. Okay. So, ito siya. So, the terms are 5x and 1 over 7. And, ubusin mo natin ha. Sa pangalawa, of course, this is composed of 3 terms kasi separated siya here. So, we have 2x squared, negative 6x, and 9. Sa pangatlo, how many terms are there? Of course, this term, and this term. They're separated by this operation, plus. So, we have 3 over x, 1 half x raised to 4, and negative y. So, this is one single term because the operation here is multiplication. You multiply x raised to 4 by 1 half. Okay, now what are these coefficients? Coefficients, these are the constant factors of a variable term. Okay, so isulat natin dito. Coefficients are constant factors of a variable term. Okay, ano yung factor? Factor is katong imong for example, 4. The factors of 4 is 2 and 2. Diba? 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, ganon. So, ito, if we have 5x, the factors of 5x is 5 and x. Diba? You multiply 5 and x. So, therefore, the constant factor is 5. Therefore, the coefficient is 5. So, the coefficients here are 5. Dire is 2, negative 6. Kani, hindi naman ni coefficient because it's a constant. So, this is the coefficient, this is a coefficient. So, 2 and 6. And what else? The coefficient for this is 3. This is actually 3 over 1, diba? So, the coefficient here is 3. And, how about here? Kaniyang variable term. This is the constant term. Hi, ma'am. This is the constant term. So, the coefficient here is 1 half. Ito naman, the coefficient here is negative 1. Negative 1. Because this is actually negative 1 times y. Or pwede rin 1 times negative y. Ganun pa rin. Let's now proceed to the next problem. This is problem 8. So, problem 9 ano. Okay. But ayaw. Paste. So let's try this. Evaluating algebraic expression. What do you mean by evaluating? Evaluate. Ano ibig sabihin ng evaluate? This is problem 9. So sa algebra, when we evaluate a certain, let's say, a certain expression, we are getting the value of that expression for a certain condition. For example, ito na lang. If we have this expression negative 3x plus 5, we evaluate this expression using this condition, or the condition is actually the value of the variable. Okay, so what is the value of this expression when the variable is this 3? Diba? Okay, so sobrang dali lang. It's just a matter of substitution. I know you are familiar with this. So we do this by substituting. So we have negative 3. Ibihin natin yung para klaro. We have negative 3 times 3 plus 5. So, PEMDAS yung rule na ginagamit natin since elementary. We multiply first before we add. So, negative 3 times 3, that's negative 9 plus 5. So, the answer is negative 9 plus 5, that's negative 4. Okay, do I need to explain why it's negative 4? I think kayang-kaya na. Meaning, ang 5, di ba? Ang 5, binawasan mo ng 9. Siyempre, kulang ka pa ng 4. Okay. How about this? Evaluate letter B. So, again, we just substitute. So, 3 times negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 minus 1. Tama ba? Baka naduling lang ako. Okay, okay. So, again, evaluating this will give us... What is negative 1 squared? That is positive 1 times 3, that is positive 3. Then, how about this? 2 times negative 1, that's negative 2 minus 1. So, what is the answer? So, 3 minus 2 is 1, minus 1, 0. 0 ba? It's 0. Next, How about this? Again, substitute lang. 2 times negative 3 over negative 3 plus 1. So that would be negative 6 over negative 2. So the answer is 6 over 2, that's 3. So negative over negative is positive, so that's positive 3. That's it. Proceed. So for our next topic, we'll tackle about the basic rules of algebra. Oops, what is happening? The basic rules of algebra. Okay. Okay, sa arithmetic, okay, lagay natin dito sa gilid konti. In arithmetic, we have 4 basic operations, diba? So, sa arithmetic, we have addition, of course, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Wait. And division. Okay, this is expressed in the symbols addition, subtraction, multiplication, pwede din dot, and division. So, it's ana. Or pwede simple bar, horizontal bar, or slant. Okay? So, that is for arithmetic. But for algebra, sa algebra, actually, it is just divided into two operations. The two operations for algebra is just addition and multiplication. And kaning subtraction and division are just the inverses of this operation. So, subtraction is the inverse of addition, and multiplication, no, division is the inverse of multiplication. So, ganun lang siya. So, if we have this definition based on formal definition, okay, let me retrieve that. So, we have this. These are the formal definitions of subtraction and division. Diba? Sabi ko nga, the operation is only addition and multiplication. So we define subtraction and division as the opposite. So for subtraction, it is adding the opposite. So for example, we have A subtracted by B, that is just adding A plus the opposite of B, which is negative B. Diba? So the opposite of B is negative B. Now, for division, we multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal is binaliktad yung nasa taas at saka nasa baba ng isang fraction. So, of course, B should not be equal to 0 because that becomes undefined kung nasa denominator siya. So, for division, that means A divided by B, or A over B, is just equal to A times the reciprocal of B. The reciprocal of B is 1 over B. So, the reciprocal of B is 1 over B because B is B over 1. So, the reciprocal of that is 1 over B. Okay? In these definitions, negative B is the additive inverse or opposite of B. And 1 over B is the multiplicative inverse or reciprocal of B. But that's mouthful. So, how about opposite na lang or negative of B and reciprocal of B? Okay? So, A is the numerator of the fraction and B is the denominator. So, here are the basic rules of algebra. So, let me present this here. Okay. So, the basic rules of algebra, let A, B, and C are be real numbers, variables, or algebraic expressions. Okay. Okay. Ayan. So, first we have commutative property of addition. So, the commutative property of addition is this. So, A plus B is the same as B plus A. So, that is commutative. Parang gi-flip lang, binaliktad lang. A plus B is B plus A. Okay? How about if it's A minus B? So, what's a commutative property? It's actually negative B plus A. That is commutative because A minus B, again, is A plus negative B. So by commutative property, that's negative B plus A. Okay, next, commutative property of multiplication. So for the multiplication, the same gihapon. AB, okay, AB is just equal to BA, or A times B is equal to B times A. Next is associative property. Associative from the word associate. Okay, so for the associative property, we have A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. So parang ganun yung pagkabasa, no? Depende sa pag-phrase. A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. Parang ganun din naman, no? But if we collect this as a single group, A plus B, added by another variable constant or expression C, that is the same as kung kanina man atong i-group B and C, because all operations here are just addition. For associative property of multiplication naman, the same gihapon. The product of A and B, or AB, times C is the same as A times the product of B and C. Okay? So, ato na gi-change ang iyang association. So, ang A and B dire are associated to each other, then kani, B and C naman associated to each other. So, you need to be familiar with these rules, or properties. So, sunod, this is very common and most of the time, diri na masayop ang estudyante, the distributive properties. So, for the distributive properties, so suppose we have A multiplied by the sum of B and C, okay, that is equal to this, AB plus AC. So, unsa man na siya, i-distribute. So, that would be A times B, AB, plus A times C, AC. So, silbi ato na siya gi-distribute. The same as here, if A and B are first added, multiplied by C, so you distribute C, so that would be C times A, or by commutative property, that's still A times C, diba? So, multiply this here, that's AC. Multiply this here, that's BC. So, that's distributive property. Very easy lang. Next is additive identity property. So, when we say identity for addition, that would be a value that kung gamitan mo siya operation, it will result to itself. Kasi ang identity, di ba? So, for addition, what value should we add for A para ang result niya is A? Of course, 0. We need to add nothing. So, the additive property for addition, yun nga, additive identity property, that's what I mean. That would be this, A plus 0 is A. So, ang identity niya, ito, oh, the result is still A. How about multiplicative property? So, ganito lang. What should you multiply with A so that the result is still A? Of course, you need to multiply that by 1. So, A times 1 is A. So, that's a multiplicative property. So, again, that's for identity, ha? Multiplicative identity property and additive identity property. Now, meron din tayong tinatawag na inverse property. So, for additive inverse property, when we say inverse, what would you do para tawag nito? That would be related to the identity property. Pero dito, if you notice, ang A dirigi balhin na nga rin. Okay. The inverse of A is negative A. So the result, if you add that to, the result is 0. Because the identity of, so for the identity property of A is 0. Okay? So, if you add A with its inverse, additive inverse, the result is 0. So, for multiplicative property naman, if you multiply A by its reciprocal, the result is 1. Remember, the identity for multiplication kani is 1. So, dire man, for multiplicative inverse naman, if you multiply it by its inverse, 1 over A, the result is its identity 1. Okay? So, kani siyang upat, these are just related. By the way, take note that A should not be equal to 0 because 1 over 0 is undefined, or that's infinity. Okay? So, let us proceed. So, I hope you can pause the video para medyo ma-digest. Okay? para magmuni-muni ng mga pangyayari. So let us continue with the properties. Okay, how about if mag-problem ta? Wait, let me paste that. Okay, this problem. Identifying the rules of algebra. Pwede naman silip tayo doon sa mga sa note. So here's a problem. This should be problem. Uy. Sorry. This is already problem. Kapila na. This is problem 10. Identifying the rules of algebra. Identify the rule of algebra illustrated by this statement. So first, what rule is expressed here or illustrated here? Ibahin natin yung color. Ito. This is actually what? This is commutative property of multiplication. Commutative property of multiplication. Okay, I think my iPad is too near a device. Okay, tingnan natin dito. Sa commutative, eto siya. 'Di ba? Gi-flip lang ang duha na factor. So dire, kung tanawon nato, we have two factors, 5x cubed and 2. So you flip that 2 times 5x cubed. So this is commutative property of multiplication. How about this? That. This resulted to 0. So what does that mean? Ito. Ayan That's additive inverse property because we added, if this is our A, 4x plus 1/3, we added its inverse, which is negative 4x, negative of this whole expression, 4x plus 1/3. So that's additive inverse. Okay, so this is additive, wrong spelling, additive inverse property. So how about this? Next, 7x times 1 over 7x, that's reciprocal. Diba? The result is this. So that's multiplicative inverse property. That's it. Kato. Ayan. And how about for the last part? Is that familiar? Sobrang dali. This is just kani. This is associated. Then this time, kanina ang i-associate. Kanang associated. Then, kanina dire sa loyo. This one. So that's associative property. Property of addition. So that would be hashtag very easy, hashtag walang challenge with exclamation point. Okay? Now let us proceed. Let me look for another problem. Another property na pod. Daming property no, pero that's algebra. Sa algebra, if you master all these properties, you don't need to memorize all the terms for these properties, but you just need to apply. Diba? So, if you constantly practicing solving problems in algebra, then this will just come naturally. Murag, you don't need to think of how do you, or what is the term for that property, but murag automatic na lang siya na inyong ma-apply. So, properties of negation and equality. So, let A, B, and C be real numbers, variables, or algebraic expression. So, the first property, how do we negate A? We negate A, or how do we come up with the opposite of A? You multiply by negative 1. So, negative 1 times A is negative A. That's negation. So, how do we negate negative A? So, meaning, how do we come up with the opposite of negative A, which is A? You multiply with negative again, or this could be negative 1. That's still the same. So negative 1 times negative a, negative times negative, that's positive. So positive a. Okay? So kani, that's very easy. Negative a times b, that's equal to, you could take out negative 3 and just multiply A and B. So this is similar to sa to, associative property, di ba? We could imagine this as negative 1 times A times B. So that is the same as negative 1 times A times B. Di ba? So still associative, but we are looking at negative 1. Okay? And that is still equal to A times negative B. Or the same as A times negative 1 times B. Di ba? So associative gihapon siya. How about this fourth property? Anyway, you just look at the examples here. I'll be sending this the this file for you to browse over. Okay. So how about this negative a times negative b? The result is ab because negative times negative, that's positive. How about this? What happened here? This is similar to the distributive property. What we did was we just distributed negative 1 dire. Diba? So my negative 1 dire distributed here. So that would be negative 1 times a, that's negative a. Negative 1 times b, that's negative b. Very easy lang challenge. Dali pa na ng algebra, no? Next, if A is equal to B, then A plus or minus B is equal to B plus and minus C. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Diba? So we have A and B which are the same. You added it by a third variable term or saba, variable, saan yung sabi dito? Variable number or algebraic expression C. Yan. So that means A plus or minus C is the same as B plus or minus C because, common sense, A and B are just the same. Diba? So, halimbawa, ano bang concrete example nito? Let's say A is cat, your cat. So, A is cat, that is also B. So, let's say, yung pangalan ng cat nyo is either Ming Ming or Meow Meow. You added it by C, Ming Ming, si Ming Ming pa rin, dinagdagan mo ng C. Si Ming Ming is the same as Meow Meow pa rin, dinagdagan mo ng C. So those are just the same. Parang pangit yata yung analogy ko. Anyway, I hope you understand. So how about this? Sa multiplication naman, ganun pa rin. If A and B are still the same, pareho lang naman sila. If you multiply A by C, the same gihapon na siya if you multiply B by C. That's very easy, no? Common sense. So algebra and logic and common sense are just related, no? So if magaling ka sa philosophy, magaling ka sa algebra, parang you're a total package. They're the same. So next is this. Ano pa? If A plus and minus C is equal to B plus and minus C, then A is equal to B. That is just a corollary to this. Pareho din sila. Parang in-invert lang. Okay? Kani siya, this is just a corollary to this. So, dyan siya galing. Okay, in inverse lang. Okay, so, yan. You need to be familiar with this property. You don't need to memorize all this, how it is denoted, but by application, by constant practice, master gyapon eh. Let us proceed. I think, next page na. Okay. Yeah, and we have already changed venue. So let us continue with our discussion. Okay. So let us discuss this one. Properties and operations of fractions. Of fractions. Still on algebraic expression. Wait lang ha, I'm still adjusting. So here are the properties and operations of fractions. Let A, B, and C, and D be real numbers, variables, or algebraic expressions such that B is not equal to 0. So let us highlight this. B is not equal to 0 and D is not equal to 0. So the first property here is equivalent fractions. Equivalent, meaning I can say na magkapareho. Equivalent, they are just the same. So sabi, A over B is equal to C over D if and only if AD is equal to BC. So that is one property. So, equivalent ko nun sila if AD is equal to BC. Okay. Example of equivalent fractions. 1/2 and uh, 4/8 are equivalent, right? 1/2 and 4. Actually, because the simpler term or lowest term of 4/8 is 1/2 magyapon, di ba? They are equivalent. They are equal. So, it is because if we multiply 1 by 8 and wait and 4 by 2, the result is the same, 8 and 8. Okay, so that is for equivalent fractions. The second is rule of signs. Wala, tinakpan ko pala. Oh, ito, sorry. Ayan, so it's 1/2 is equivalent to 4/8. I'm very sorry. So if you multiply 1 and 8, that's 8. If you multiply 2 and 4, that's still 8. So they are equivalent. So, sunod is rule of signs. Negative A over B is the same as negative A over B. And it's also the same as A over negative B. Simply because if you divide negative by positive, the result is negative. Or if you divide positive by negative, the result is negative. Okay? And negative A over negative B is positive A over B. So that's the rule of signs. Okay, let's take a look at number 3, generate equivalent fractions. Inulit ko kasi natakpan. So, it says that A over B is equal to AC over BC, where C is not equal to 0. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? We could generate an equivalent fraction if we multiply A over B by C over C. Diba? Multiply A over B by C over C. And essentially, we are just multiplying by 1. Diba? C over C is just 1. And if you recall, kanina, doon sa property, what was that property? Ito, multiplicative kaning multiplicative identity property, if you multiply a term, an expression, a variable by 1, the result is the same. So, ito, dito, if we multiply A over B, A over B by 1, the result is still the same, A over B. So, that is generating equivalent fraction. If you recall kanina ang example natin ito, sa atong example, 1/2 is essentially the same as 1/2 multiplied by 2 over, itong 4/8 is actually 1/2 multiplied by 4 over 4. Diba? That is the same. 1/2 multiplied by 4 over 4 because 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. Okay? So that is generating equivalent fractions. Next, add or subtract. Tingnan natin, dapat din naman. Yan. Add or subtract with like denominators. Okay. If we have A over B added or subtracted by C over B, the result is just the sum or difference of the numerator over the denominator, the common denominator. So, ganun lang siya kadali. So, kung common iyong denominator, you just copy the denominator and you just add or subtract whatever is the given operation. You add or subtract the numerator. Ayun. Okay, how do we make sense out of this? Okay, pareho din naman yan sa if you apply LCD, di ba? The LCD of B and B is still B. Di ba? You can look at it that way. Okay? Pwede din naman, you can think of this as distributive property of distributive property, sorry. So, this is essentially 1 over B multiplied by A plus or minus C, di ba? I-permanent natin. This is essentially, dito ko lagay ha, 1 over B multiplied by A plus or minus C. Pwedeng ganun. Then, if we distribute this, So 1 over b times a, that's a over b. 1 over b times c, that's c over b. And this is the same as this. Parang nilabas ko lang si 1 over b. This is, ayan, multiplied by 1. Oh. So 1 over b. Nilabas ko lang siya. Okay? Or, simple na lang na pagka-state, if common ang denominator, just copy, then you just add or subtract whatever is the operation, the numerator. Okay? Ito, add or subtract with unlike denominators. So, ito, unlike na yung denominators nila. Okay? So, etong BD, this is actually the LCD or the least common denominator um, of B and D. Okay? Ano ba yung least common denominator? Least common denominator is the number that is divisible by both, or the smallest number, because least, kaya nga least. The smallest number that is divisible by the two denominators. For example, we have 2 and 3. Okay, 2 and 3. So, 12 is divisible by 2. It is also divisible by 3. Diba? But this is not the least common denominator. Wala, di rin nakita. Sorry. So, the least for 2 and 3 is actually 6, di ba? Which is 2 times 3 lang. So, 6 is both divisible by 2 and 3. Ganon. Okay? So, yan. Or simply, kung least na to siya, meaning kung B and D do not contain any common factor, then pwede mong i-multiply na lang sila. Okay? For example, ito. Tingnan natin ha. How about ito? 1/2 plus, let's say, 1/8. Okay. So, you might be tempted to say that ang LCD dito is 16. Okay? Pero actually, hindi 16 yung LCD. We can use 16 but this is not the least. Okay? Ano kayong LCD niya dito? It's actually 8 because 8 is enough to be para maging divisible. Ano ba yan? English, sorry. 8 is enough para maging divisible by 2. And 8 is enough para maging divisible by 8 itself. Diba? Or you can, again, look at it this way. This is 2. Okay na to. And 8 is actually 2 times 4. Right? May common silang factor na 2. So, since common yung factor na 2, i-drop off mo na lang, then eto na lang sila ang enough. Okay? Okay? So, just practice. Anyway, mamaya I'll be giving some examples for this. Number 7, divide fractions. Eto, if we divide A over B divided by C over D. By the way, if you look at the symbol for divide, no, it's actually ratio. Meaning, ito siyang bar, merong value sa taas, may value sa baba. Amazing. Sorry. So, A over B divided by C over D is the same as A over B multiplied by the reciprocal. Why? So, ako nagtanong, ako din sasagot. Paano ba? Remember that division, dito sa property natin na na-discuss sa una, ano yung division? Ito. Division is multiplying by the reciprocal. So, basically, yun yung ginawa natin dito. Okay? Since we divide, we just multiplied by the reciprocal of C over D, which is D over C. Wait, may tao sa labas. Wala. Ayan. So, if pag mag-multiply na tayo, just multiply this and this, so that would be AD, over multiply this and this, that would be BC. Okay? Provided that C is not equal to 0. So, ganun lang siya if we divide functions. Parang ganito rin. This is the same as A over B over C over D. Parang ganun. Diba? This time, we'll try to solve sa problem diri sa atong exercises. So, we'll just solve a few, then ang iba, kayo na lang yung mag-answer. Okay? Or how about dito ko na lang answer, ano? Para may guide din kayo. Okay, eto. For exercises 95 to 100, hindi pa rin makita. Ayan. For exercises 95 to 100, evaluate the expression for each value of x. If not possible, state the reason. So, let's try. Evaluation lang naman. So, that is simply substitution. So, ibahin natin yung ink. Let's try this one. For 95, kasi pinakamadali. For letter A, how do we do that? So, you just substitute this value to x. So, paano? That would be 4 times negative 1 minus 6. So, that would be negative 4 minus 6. That would be negative 10. Napakadali. How about when x is 0? Again, substitute 4 times 0 minus 6. Ay, that is just negative 6. Walang ka-challenge. So easy. Okay, hanap tayo ng iba. How about this one? How about problem number 99? Wait, tinakban ko ba yung kanina? Di naman yata. Problem 99. Okay, look at this. X plus 1 over x minus 1. So, if we start with letter A, substitute tayo, that would be 1 plus 1 over 1 minus 1. So, the answer is, that would be 2 over 0. So, meaning, we cannot substitute, or substituting 1 to the value of x is not possible. Diba? So, lagyan natin not possible. Okay? Next, how about for letter B? Sa letter B naman, substitute tayo, x equal to negative 1. So, this becomes negative 1 plus 1. Negative 1 plus 1 over negative 1 minus 1. So, that would be 0 over negative 2. So, the answer is 0. So, it's possible. Na 0 man siya. Dito, di siya possible, pero dito, it's possible. Okay? And, eto siya na mga situation, we will encounter this again when we discuss about limits, pag mag-calculus na. Okay? Sa darating na mga panahon. Okay, the rest, kayo na lang yung magsosolve. Okay? So, let's try these exercises. Next, in exercises 101 to 112, identify the rule or rules of algebra illustrated by the statement. So, familiar pa kayo sa rule? Anong rule to? This is just commutative, di ba? Nag-flip lang siya. It's commutative. Eto, obviously, alam nyo na to. Ilang beses na mention, di ko na answeran. Kaya na lang yung mag-answer. So, sobrang madali lang naman to. Okay? Sobrang madali. Eto, sobrang dali. So, di ko na lang answer, ano? Okay. Eto, klaro. You just look at these properties here. Eto, nandyan siya. So, let's just proceed to the next. Eto, in exercises 113 to 120, perform the operations and write the fractional answers in simplest form. Okay, for number 113, paano yung pag-same ang denominator? You just copy and then you add or perform the operation for the numerator. So 3 plus 5. So that would be 8 over 16, which is equivalent to 1 half. Okay? How about here? How about this one? Eto na. If you notice, we have different denominators. We have 8, 12, and 6. So what we are going to do here is just get the least common denominator. Okay? The least common denominator. What is the smallest number that are divisible by 8, by 12, and by 6? Okay? Okay? So that number could be 24. Tama ba? Check natin na. by factors na lang. So, ano yung mga factors? This is spoon feeding pa ha. Ano yung mga factors ng, wait, eto. Anong mga factors ng 8? The factors of 8 are, ako nagtatanong, ako sumasagot. The factors of 8 are 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, how about the factors of 12? That would be 2 times 2 times 3. And how about the factors of 6? That's 2 times 3. So dito, if you notice, again, these are the factors, diba? So dito, we have 3, tulo ka 2, kani duha ka 2, ug usa ka 2. So ano yung value na could be divided by tulo ka 2, duha ka 2, ug usa ka 2? Of course, tulo ka 2. Ako nang nag-answer ng tanong ko. So 2 times 2 times 2 is sufficient para ma-divide siya aning factors of 2, if you get what I mean. Okay? Unya, may nag-appear pa man na 3. Since common siya, yung isang 3 lang ang kukunin natin. So, that would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So, kani siya, this is now sufficient para ma-divide ani, o ma-divide ani. Nakuha nyo? Sana naman. So, 2 times 2 times 2, that would be 8 times 3, that would be 24. Okay? Because kani, kung i-divide natin to dito, that's enough kasi ma-cancel out lang yung tatlong 2. Okay? Tapos kung yung 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, i-divide natin dito, that is enough kasi ma-cancel out lang yung dalawang 2 tsaka yung isang 3. So, pwede pa rin siya. So, yung 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, pwede siyang i-divide dito because ma-cancel out lang naman yung 2 and yung 3. So, pwede pa siya. Okay? So, yun yung mangyayari. Then, after that, since eto na yung LCD, what we will do with that is, wait, nawala yung ink ko. What we will do with that is ganito. You need to divide this by this. So, 24 divided by 8 is 3. Then, multiply it by 5. Okay? 24 divided by 8, 3 times 5, that would be 15. Minus, ito, operation is subtraction. Minus, 24 divided by 12 is 2. Times 5, that is 10. 2 times 5. Then plus, again, ito siya, plus 24 divided by 6 is 4 times 1, 4. So the answer here is 4. Then simple arithmetic na lang, that would be equal to 15 minus 10 is 5 plus 4, 9. So that's 9 over 24. So that's the answer. Yan yung answer. Wait. Ayan. So what else? I think the rest is quite easy. Number 116 is just similar. Ayan, similar na gihapon siya. So, ano ba yung pwedeng yung LCD dyan? So, alam nyo na. What least number is divisible by these 3 denominators? Okay. Do we need to answer another one? I think we're okay. 120, that's multiplication lang naman. So, just multiply this. Just multiply this. Okay. How about here? What is the common denominator? What number is divisible by both 4 and 3? So, I will not say 12. Sige, it's 12. Divide this, so it's the same process. So this is 12 divided by 3, that would be 4 times 2x. So 4 times 2x, that would be 8x. Minus 12 divided by 4 is 3 times x, so that's 3x. And what is 8x minus 3x? That would be 5x. So the answer is 5x over 12. So continue yun na lang. Ayan. So what else? I think wala nang masyado. We could continue with the next topic na. So, you just answer the problems here. Tapos, you may show us through private message kung ano yung mga progress nyo. And I think I'll try to search for another set of exercises for you to answer. But I will just post it to the group. Okay? So that would be all about algebraic expressions. So I will see you in the next lesson. It will be on exponential and radicals, exponents and radicals.